hired a crew, purchased a printer. The first house should be finished, we think, in June.
I mean, I've been hearing this in the real estate space for the last 3 or 4 years.
Not enough houses are being produced at a price point that is viable for most people to afford.
Homes will be in that 1 to 300 range.
This podcast is brought to you by Washburn University, a tight-knit college in a city of opportunity.
Washburn offers small classes and big experiences. It's public, prestigious, and has the lowest student debt in the state.
Above all, Washburn delivers a personalized education that you won't find at larger schools.
Learn more at washburn.edu.
All right. Hey, today we have Chris Stemler, the founder of Trident Homes 3D printing here in Topeka. Let's go, dude. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks,
Welcome
guys.
to the
Thanks,
studio.
thanks for having me.
Chris,
Appreciate
do you
it.
want to give us a little bit about your backstory, your relationship to Topeka? How did we get here?
Sure. I moved here in 98 from Canada. So went to high school and middle school at Washburn Rural, graduated in 03, did a bit at Washburn, finished my undergrad at Fort Hayes, got my MBA from Baker, and then started working for Security Benefit, and then just kind of progressed to different roles throughout the years until we get here.
Washburn, Fort Hayes, but you kind of made your way around here in the mid.
Yeah, I had originally wanted to do law, and then I realized if I couldn't be like Tom Cruise and A Few Good Men, I was like, there's way more writing involved in this than yeah. So I dipped and decided to go into business.
I said the same thing about Harvey Specter and Suits. Like, I want to go be a lawyer. I want to be Harvey. It's not how that works.
It is not. There's a lot of writing. There's a lot of technical stuff, and that's just not my forte. Yeah. So
super cool. Okay, so then you're here. You left Security Benefit.
Yeah, I worked for a number of major insurance carriers over the years until about 3 years ago, stepped away and do independent consulting. And all through that time, we had been real estate investors.
Nice.
So doing some rentals and stuff here in town and just slowly expanding what we did.
Yeah.
I feel like independent consulting is something someone in the CIA would say.
Yeah, I mean, it might be, but that's not me, man. I'm Canadian. I doubt they'd recruit me. But no, so myself, my brother-in-law, a number of others, we work for a company here in town that we founded that does like 401k and ERISA consulting. And we have clients all across the country.
So it's still in the financial
still
world.
Basically the same thing I was doing historically, just for ourselves, for independence, that kind of stuff.
So it seems like you're kind of involved on two different ends of the spectrum as far as, like investment worlds, the finance side, and then the real estate side. You got some experience with both. Yeah, I'm not anywhere nearly as smart as the financial advisors that are in our community who do like that great work. My finance is really more like, how do 401ks work? How should a company set this up if they're trying to accomplish these goals? That sort of stuff. It's kind of the boring side of of finance.
Like
I don't get in.
Almost,
I don't get into investments. We don't get into any of that. It's all about the general legal structure of the retirement plan.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's not maybe as like boiler room exciting as it might sound.
Sure.
It's mostly me sitting at a computer reading documents and then making suggestions to change
It's like the lawyer life you're trying to avoid.
Kind of. It's really interesting. We work with a lot of CPAs and advisors and lawyers in town, and it's really kind of an adjacent to all of those. A lot of recommendations like, hey, you're doing this. You said you want this. Let's change it. Yeah. Do it this way. Yeah.
So how'd you get into real estate?
Honestly, my wife's idea to some degree. We had our starter home that we bought in Topeka. I don't even remember when. And we decided to upgrade, move into the house that we're in now. And we're like, maybe we keep it as a rental. Mm-hmm. Other people do. Maybe we could. Worked out great. I mean, we learned some lessons. Sure. Our first tenants, it was rough. But, we've learned over time. And we just kind of, up until really just into the beginning of COVID, we just kind of kept acquiring as deals. You kind of know how it goes, right? As deals happen, right? As you get access to stuff, we weren't buying all the time, just when it made sense to. So that went really well. And actually during COVID is when we jump from the single family real estate into that kind of commercial, which is when we bought the historic building that we turned into the Beacon.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Kind of a lark. We had been talking, myself, my brother-in-law, and my wife and her sister. We had been talking about an event venue of some kind. And my wife was driving down past 9th and Topeka where the Beacon is and saw an auction sign. We went to the auction. We bid. We actually won, which was crazy. We didn't really think that would happen.
Wow.
And then we spent most of COVID doing the renovation. Cool. Worked with Senny & Co. on that, and they did a great job kind of converting what was there to what we have now. And it's from that experience, right, we were able to take the tax credits and use those appropriately. And so we got into more historic renovations. And that's ultimately what led us to the 3D houses.
Yeah.
Really? How did historic renovations lead to that?
So we started a historic renovation project in Independence, Kansas. So a number of buildings that were doing commercial on the first floor, residential on the second floor. And it's been a long project because it's multiple buildings, about 20 residential units, 8 commercial units. And I was traveling. I was like, man, this has just taken a long time. The city needs housing. They're bringing new businesses in, right? We got Panasonic. We got the Chiefs, right? Kansas is bringing these businesses in because it's more affordable to do business here for a variety of reasons, but there's nowhere for people to live. And when you look at the project, if it takes 6 years from start to finish to do all these buildings, that's only about 3 or 4 living units a year. Who the heck? Who does that really help? And so for about a year, I was frustrated. Like, what can I do to speed up the deployment of housing? Right? Like, I'm taking a historical building, the walls, all that stuff is still there. The cost per unit's still really high. The time still takes forever, even though we've got some of the kind of more arduous red tape stuff really down pat.
Right.
We have great vendors we work with who help with that. And I was in a hotel traveling one day, and I was on YouTube, and I saw a video of a concrete printer.
Crazy.
Yeah, it must have been listening to me because I was talking to my construction buddies and stuff, and it was just like, he'll like this, and I did. I was like, if this isn't some weird generated something,
right? Yeah, I
was like, this is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
that is crazy. Side note that sometimes you see these videos, you're like, that's amazing, and then it's AI generated. Yeah, you're like, dang, I thought that was real. Yeah, but so you stumble across this video of someone using basically a giant 3D printer that uses concrete. To it just kind of goes around like a router. Is that how it works?
I mean, it's if you've seen a standard size, they call them FDM or filament printers, right? It's just a giant version of that, except for plastic filament. It's a mortar mixture.
Wow,
crazy.
Yep.
And how did you get from seeing that video to like, hey, I'm going to buy that? And where do you even get one of those?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Amazon.
There's 5 or 6 manufacturers, a couple U.S. based, some German, a couple others. The largest one has had a couple spots on 60 Minutes. They're called Icon. They did a development called Wolf Creek down in Texas, where they printed 100 houses. Icon's a really interesting case. They have some great designs, but basically, we started at the very beginning, and I called some friends, architecture, engineering, and I was like, hey, I have this crazy idea. Like, clearly the technology works, right? But like, how do we bring it here? How do we deploy it? Is it even viable? And that was about 3.5, 4 years ago. And from that point on, we just kind of took it step by step. It's like, okay, how can we design an architectural plan to fit what this printer can do? What's the footprint? How fast does it deploy, the mortar? How many layers? And we basically went through, architecture, structural engineering, some of the mechanical stuff on the printer. And just every time we got to kind of a gateway of where it's like, is this possible? can it work? The answer was like, yeah, probably.
Mm.
And so November of 24, we presented to a number of municipalities across Kansas the idea where we were and what we were going to start doing. And they basically all said, hey, this all looks fine. If and when you're ready, pull permits. And at that point, we hadn't even functionally started the company yet. We were still in that exploratory phase. And so from November of 24 to now, we've hired a crew, purchased a printer, done all these things, and the first house should be finished sometime, we think, in June.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yep.
That's wild. Are we allowed to know where it is?
It's here in Topeka. Once we get it dried in, the security that we have will come down, and then people will be able to see it. So
it's hush-hush. Like, people don't know where this is in Topeka.
If you ask around, you'll find it.
But it's not public. It's okay. Sweet.
Correct. Yeah. And it is somebody's home. So, like, it is a purchased house. It's not a spec build.
Okay.
So
someone's already bought it?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. And we have a pretty strong order flow behind it as well.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's wild.
We'll talk about why.
Yeah.
Financially, like from an economics perspective. But the individual's state house rep, Marilyn Poskin, out of Kansas City.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she's been a great help and ally. And
she wanted to buy the first one.
She was fairly insistent. And I checked. I was like, are you sure? But one of the big things is, and you probably know this from dealing with houses, houses that can be retrofit to be ADA compatible are very hard to find. New builds that are ADA are very expensive.
Yep.
The house we're building is actually designed as like an ADA house.
Okay.
So
like zero entry, like that kind of thing?
That kind of stuff. And what's really cool is, unlike in a traditional framing, we were able to just, in the G code and the tech, just move the walls where they need to be to create the space that they needed.
Oh, interesting.
Super cool.
Yeah.
In terms of like entryways and
bathrooms, right? All that stuff.
Wow.
We were able to adjust it to their needs because we're not worried about, 16 inches on center.
Right.
This, that, or the other thing.
Are the walls solid concrete?
No.
How does it work?
Yeah, so you can. There's a German company we're talking to that does produce a 5-inch thick wall. In Nordic countries in Germany, they insulate both sides, so they kind of do it a little differently. Whereas here we have our sheetrock insulation in the middle, and then our exterior. This printer prints a bead on the outside, a 4 to 5 inch air gap, and a bead on the inside.
So you can insulate the inside. Do you run electrical still through the walls? Yeah,
everything's conduit. Everything's through the walls, just like normal. There are some differences in how, but and then it's filled with closed cell foam.
Yeah.
So we're getting between R28 and R32 in the walls, which is pretty stout.
So maybe this is a dumb question, but I didn't know that. So I was thinking it was full concrete. And so part of my thought process was, if I wanted to move an outlet or something like that would be impossible. And so with this, it sounds like it would be just as easy as drywall.
You have other, just like in any renovation, you have to adjust some of what you're expecting. But you can go to Home Depot. You might need more than just a DeWalt drill.
Sure. Right.
But you could drill in a hole, you can put in an electrical box, you could run the conduit, absolutely.
Yep.
Because it's hollow all the way up to the top. So
up to the top plate.
Yep.
That's correct.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. That's not what I was expecting either.
Yeah, and then the plumbing, at least for these the ones we're talking about, they're all going to be slab on grade. And so all the plumbing is coming in through the slab, but it's not coming up in the wall, it's coming up like into the cabinetry.
Gotcha.
Because what we don't want to do is, if there's a leak, right, we don't want to create basically a pool in your wall and the leak's coming out from the ceiling.
Yeah.
So the plumbing and stuff is kept separate from the wall cavities and the electrical.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. So it's those little differences, right, that we just have to, okay, what do we normally do? How's that going to work here? Let's make some slight adjustments. Right. And get to that different end result.
That's crazy.
It'll all ultimately feel and look the same.
Sure.
But our process with development is slightly different.
Yeah.
So you talked about the need for housing and kind of your backed up wait list and why that might be. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, I mean, housing prices since the beginning of COVID have skyrocketed.
Crazy.
And the old idea that when interest rates rise, house prices drop,
right,
that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And what we're really seeing is actually a knock-on result of 2008. So in 2008, if you were a builder and you were not well capitalized, had good orders, or could just weather the storm, you failed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most of them didn't come back to the industry. Mm-hmm. They left. They did other things. Well, the folks in town who have been building all our houses are 20 years on almost, and a lot of them are closer and closer to retirement. Mm-hmm. And those are businesses that don't typically translate between generations.
Sure.
Some of them do, but not all. And so what we're really facing now, you know, inflation's bad, prices are bad, but it all comes down to a supply problem. Not enough houses are being produced at a price point that is viable for most people to afford. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, how many houses are currently available for sale right now in Topeka?
Single family, Shawnee County, like 140.
Right. And generally the idea I've been told is that we want about 3 times that many.
Wow.
And so what you're facing now, and you probably have clients that'll tell you this, if you have downsizers who want to sell their big house, right? Kids have flown the coop and they're ready for something a little less maintenance heavy. They're like, yeah, I could sell it at a high price, but where am I going to go? Mm-hmm. So the problem is we have an inventory turnover issue. We don't have enough supply at the start to move people from those higher end or kind of last rental houses into the house ownership market. And at the top of the housing market, we don't have an ability for those people to come back down into a downsized style home. And so inventory can't turn over. You have, 1,000, 3,000 people shopping the same 100 houses. They keep looking at the same ones, right? Because it does feel like the same ones tend to come back up. And they're like, oh, well, this would be good if. This would be good if.
Right.
Then we get into the age of the houses. Average age in Topeka is 60 to 80 years old?
In that first-time homebuyer price range, probably even older.
Yeah. So what we're running into is now not only do they have to go buy, I think I bought my first house, it was a while ago, but it was sub $100,000. Yeah. That used to be fairly typical in Topeka. You could get a 2-bed, 1-bath kind of 1950s house for $60,000 to $100,000, and it was good.
Yeah,
that's just not possible anymore.
Nope. Yeah,
and so with the increase in population, right, with the lack of supply, what we're really facing is that there is a gap in new home production in that $100,000 to $300,000 range. You want someone to build you a $300,000 or $400,000 home? Slam dunk, you can find it. At least here in Topeka, right? Kansas City, that's $500,000 or $600,000, but it's the same idea. But if you want something that most of us would call attainable pricing, you're buying a house that's 100 years old that probably also needs some work.
Yep. Right, yeah.
So what we've really come into is this economic pressure that's really all driven by a lack of supply.
A lack of actual homes.
Well, yeah, there's just not enough. Right. And it's not just single family. There's not enough multifamily. There's not enough duplexes. Like there's not enough supply
and things like that.
Period.
Wow.
The developments that Scent and these other groups have going on are great because they're going to help alleviate some of that in different areas. But for that $100,000 to $300,000 buyer of housing, there's just a huge gap.
Which is that the majority? The majority of buyers want 100 to 300. Yeah.
Well, so here, we'll just go right to the source, right? If you could take your person out, any client out, and for $250,000, they get a 2 or 3 bedroom, 2-car garage, brand new house.
Yeah.
They're going to think about it. Right?
Yeah. No doubt about it. New construction, $250,000, unheard of.
Yeah. And so what this is really trying to do is produce attainable housing.
Wow.
This can be used to do all kinds of stuff societally that will help. We can build houses for the unhoused. We can provide shelter. We can do LIHTC and low income. But ultimately, the real pressure is on that kind of same range I've been talking about. And if we can produce quality housing in that range, it's going to kickstart inventory turnover. Because like we talked about,
alleviates the pressure. Yeah,
it does a little bit, right? And so the reason we have a lot of interest in order flow is simply put that whether they care about the material or whatever, the price point puts it in an area there that most people are going to have to consider.
Yep. Yep. That's awesome.
That is interesting.
When you started all this, I feel like, so, there's other cities that are doing this or other states that have done it. What we're bringing here isn't a new technology.
No.
It's new to Topeka.
Correct.
What kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, PR work do you feel like you've had to do to convince people that this is a safe, sustainable, and a really good alternative option to what's currently out there?
I mean, I can talk all day.
Washburn, a proud sponsor of this podcast, wants to keep its homegrown talent at home.
Graduates of Shawnee County High Schools and homeschools qualify for the Thrive Scholarship.
Other local graduates may qualify for the Promise Scholarship, so you can go to college tuition free.
Learn more about these incredible opportunities at washburn.edu.
Washburn is just right, just for you.
Our friends, the people that we work with, they can talk all day about it. At the end of the day, we're here in the Midwest. People are going to want to put hands on it.
Yeah.
They're going to want to see it.
Yeah.
So as much as I've talked about it, some of the news articles and all that stuff, we have to finish producing the first house so that people understand that it's not going to be that much different.
Yeah.
I've spent 4 or 5 years with this. I grew up, my grandfather worked for a very large construction and concrete company. I'm used to the material, but not everybody is.
Sure.
It's just going to take a minute.
Yeah.
Right. That's all. There's not anything I can go out and promise and say and do.
Right.
We're Midwesterners. We're going to want to put our hands on the wall and be like, oh, it's okay. And see the construction. Like, we just have to do our due diligence.
So is the challenge then that you don't have a model, like you've already sold it, so people can't just like come and walk through this one?
The advantage is because she's a state house rep and she lives in Kansas City, we will have the ability to do
to show us and stuff. Oh, great.
Yeah.
So people can come get a feel for what it's like.
We'll have all that scheduled out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's why it's a good partnership with Marilyn as well, just because she's going to get to use it when she needs it. We're going to occasionally be able to use it.
Right.
Yep.
But I think once people really get a chance to see it, right, they're going to understand the value it can bring. And especially because we can do those price points that I talked about, we can do that in infill lots.
What does that mean?
Inside. So let's say you're driving around Topeka and you see house, empty lot, house. Mm-hmm. We can go into that empty lot with our technology and printer and put a house back there.
Like it's flexible enough, basically. It can fit in there.
And our cost per square footage, which our cost per square footage on those smaller lots doesn't really change.
Oh.
So we can produce infill housing. We all complain about property tax, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if we had 400 more houses inside of Topeka able to bear some of that burden, it might alleviate some of those pressures, right?
And these homes will be in that 1 to 300, generally speaking, range.
Yeah, and so we do, my guess is it's probably going to be 150 to 3.
Sure.
Wow.
And it's really probably 150 to 275.
Wow, yeah.
We do everything just like normal builders, on an allowance basis. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. So let's say, what's your favorite feature of your house?
That's hard.
What do you use the most?
The living room.
Okay. So let's say you want a really cool fireplace and you want a vaulted ceiling and all this stuff, right? Well, we have allowances for everything. And if you're, whatever you want,
things around.
whatever you want, you're like, well, I really want this really cool fireplace or something.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, well, here's your allowance. You want it to be 10 times that much. You're just paying the difference.
Right, yeah.
And so the range I'm giving is that if someone wants to come in and just buy a house, they're going to get a great functional house. It's not pressboard cabinets. It's not any of that stuff. But especially for downsizers, they're going to have those 2 or 3 things. They're like,
They can upgrade.
This is my deal.
My old house had this, so I want.
Right.
Great. But think about things like heated floors and radiant heat. It's so much easier to do that in new construction.
Right.
Yep.
And the cost is much less compared to trying to retrofit it into a house that wasn't built for it.
Right.
And so what we'll find is that there will really be a couple of types of buyers. There will be buyers who want the house because it's in a price point and in a neighborhood they want to be in and can afford. And there will be buyers who sell a big house they don't want to live in, get all the amenities they want, and still probably put some extra money back in the bank, which is a great formula for them in retirement.
Yeah. I had not thought about the infill housing. I didn't even know that was a term, but I mean, I see it all the time. You're driving down the road and, you know, there's a home for sale that I'm showing. The lot next door is empty. It's owned by someone random. And as, you know, in the real estate space, I'm over here thinking that's never going to get used. You know, that's basically the neighbor's lot at that point, because there's no way that someone's going to build typical new construction on it. It's just too small of a lot. It's going to be way too expensive. It just doesn't make sense.
The first house we're building is an infill lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's really critical to. It is less efficient for us. Sure. I would love 100 lots in a straight line.
Right. Yeah.
Because then we just set the printer and the tent up and just bang, like knock them out. But that takes a lot of time. And getting roads and utilities and infrastructure and trying not to use RHIDs and trying not to put in specials. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into those neighborhood developments. But we have hundreds of lots. Now, they're hard to get sometimes. In Topeka, I know, you know, the mayor and folks are working on getting the land bank up and running, which is great. That'll help.
Why are the small lots hard to get, the infill lots?
Because they're owned by who knows who.
Oh, because sometimes they just don't want to sell. Or...
Somebody dies, an estate inherits them. It's $100 a year to keep, and nobody cares.
Right.
Or some random company picked them up, and they're just holding them because they're holding them.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of the infill lots in Topeka are owned by people who don't even live here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost most of
they
them.
Just inherited it or ended up with it somehow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And so the city's working on a lot of municipalities in Kansas through statute have land banks. And so the municipality can go in and basically claim the land back at some point. We're working with a number of them who have granted us lots to build on. Nice. Independence is a great example. They've been a great partner. We're working on a project with them, an equity bank that's 50 houses. And FHL Bank actually gave us a grant for down payment assistance on those. Cool. So anybody in Independence who goes to buy one of the houses gets up to $35,000 of down payment assistance. Wow. So it starts to really make a difference because I'm not charging for the lot. Yeah, we got it for free. Why would I do that? They get down payment assistance. You know, we're talking, you know, a $200,000 to $215,000 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage, brand new house
that someone can now get into.
Correct.
Much easier. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So once we really get that public-private partnership humming, it's great. Topeka is a little challenging because a lot of the state-level incentives do not apply within the city limits. Topeka is an entitlement city. It receives funding directly from the federal government. And so the Kansas grants that we can use for other housing and stuff do not apply here.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
It's a little more challenging.
Yeah.
But out in the communities we're working with across Kansas, a lot of those tools we're using.
Yeah.
Interesting. What are some of the, kind of back to his question, you know, you're saying, hey, people need to like feel it and see it. What are some of the big objections you're having to kind of help people overcome and like, hey, man, this is just as good of a home as...
Well, renovations are going to definitely be one, right? Not that you add outlets to your house a bunch, but sometimes you're like, oh, man, it would be really nice to have.
Right.
So renovations are a big one because the concrete is between 4,000 and 7,000 PSI. So, I mean, it's pretty stout concrete, right? You're going to need a hammer drill. You're going to need some special tools. Yep. Most contractors and builders have them.
Sure.
But an individual person might not.
Right, so the DIY guy.
Yeah. And you know what? We've even joked about giving people hammer drills when they buy a house.
But your housewarming present.
Yeah, here's a hammer drill and some Tapcons, right? So that's one. The texture of the wall is the second, and it's probably the most talked about.
So people just paint the wall. There's no drywall over the concrete?
Correct. There's no drywall or sheetrock. Now,
interesting.
Again, because we're building these as allowance, if somebody wants the walls to look a certain way, they can just look a certain way. Concrete is just a construction material.
Right.
We can put skim coat over it. We can put wainscoting, stucco, brick, faux stone, regular stone. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Can be whatever they want. But at a base level, I think that's probably going to be the thing people have to come to terms with the most, is that right now, and if you go look at the videos, you see those layer lines. Now, we're working on some stuff that by house 3 or 4, those layer lines will be very faint and or non-existent.
Sure.
But in the short term, you're probably going to have them.
Yep.
Gotcha.
A guy that we work with said that it looks like sedimentary layers. Like if you see like Grand Canyon, you can see the layers of stone. But once it's sealed and painted, it's not going to look that different.
Yeah.
But that's going to be probably the biggest thing to get used to.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Everything else, doors, windows, flooring, I mean, it's all generally the same. If we can figure out a good way to get rid of sheetrock on the ceiling, we'd like to.
Sure.
Right? Specifically using like tongue and groove or something. That way we can soften up the space a little. But again, the nice thing is with us doing it generally not spec because of our order flow.
Right.
And having allowances, people are really going to get a lot of choice in what it looks like.
Yeah.
On the outside, it really looks like a stucco material, honestly.
So the outside will be the same. There's no like siding. It's just...
Well, you really don't want to put siding on the concrete. There's really no need to do
trap
that.
moisture in there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Typically, stucco's a great option, or EIFS, because once you put it on, there's no moisture. Like stucco fails in Kansas because that freaking humidity just gets in there and rots it out. So those would be really good. You could do wainscoting, stone. Right, like you drive through
anything
a neighborhood.
that's not creating an air gap between.
Correct, right? Because since that concrete isn't going to breathe at all, if we trap moisture next to it, it's just going to damage whatever we put on.
Right,
sure,
right. Yeah. Same reason maybe you want the ground to slope away from your basement so the water doesn't go into your foundation. Ultimately the same idea. Yeah. Cool, man. Man, this is crazy.
Yeah, this is super awesome. I mean, I've been hearing this in the real estate space for the last 3 or 4 years.
It's coming. I mean, it's in the building codes already.
Yep.
We don't have to building codes are kind of boring, but in 2024, I think they've started to give like more wall envelope details and like it's on the way. And the advantage is that so long as it's in some code, even if Topeka or somewhere else hasn't adopted that most recent code, we can reference those because they're often more strict than less strict.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like we're trying to invent something crazy. Like we're just deploying a technology that's already building houses. I think over 1,000 were built last year across the U.S. with this methodology.
Amazing. Wow.
But I mean, I say 1,000. The U.S. is 4 million houses behind on its supply.
Wow.
So there's work to do. Kansas is about 50,000 houses behind on supply. Topeka by itself is 6 or 7 of that. So 6,000 or 7,000 homes is what we could use in Topeka.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so when we talk about demand and issue, when we started this, we're like, oh, well, we don't want traveling crews, but how do we deal with like other states? And the answer is we should just do it here first, right? We can help other people. We can figure out franchise models or whatever, right? But there's so much need here at home. That's what we're trying to focus on.
So 6,000 or 7,000 more homes in Topeka would get us back to a place where supply and demand are in a good tension with each other.
That's what all of the housing studies that are currently available are suggesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's a lot of houses.
Yeah.
Now that's housing units. So some of that can be expressed in multifamily. Some of it is single family. Some of it is higher end single family, right? But it's still
you still got the spectrum of
correct. It's not just 6,000 in the market we're looking, but it is a big number.
Yeah.
Right. And so for each printer, our goal is, depending on a whole bunch of variables, between 25 and 50 houses per print crew per year.
Okay.
Whoa.
Now, if we're doing a development and we can find the staff,
sure,
well, we can actually do shift work.
Oh.
So we can run the printer longer.
Okay.
Okay. So instead of just doing an 8 or 10 hour shift, we could have shift work and run it multiple. Now, in infill, when there's neighbors, we're not going to do that because they would not be very happy.
Yeah. Right.
But ultimately, the idea is that from the time we start printing until the time it's delivered to the end client is about 90 days.
Yeah. Have you guys either started thinking about buying up, acres of land for subdivisions? That way you could do the streamline?
Yeah, and we don't even have to because developers have it.
Oh, I gotcha. Yep.
I really don't. Of all the things I like about construction and home building and stuff, the ground development is stuff I just personally, at least, I'm tapped out on.
Sure.
That's not my specialty. There's a lot that goes into that.
So there are developers who are getting it ready for builders, and they're taking a bare 100 acres and putting roads and plumbing and all that.
They're putting all that stuff in, and we've had some great conversations with some regional and semi-regional developers who have been struggling to do new projects because the cost of stick building is, let's say $225, but realistically it's about $250 a square foot for finished stick build.
Yep.
And we're sitting around $170 to $175 a square foot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for developers, especially in build to rent communities or duplex communities, that number is a huge difference maker for them being able to even do the project and do the development.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
So could we go get the land? Yeah. We've talked to a bunch of people. We've had some stuff under contract off and on. We'd love to pick up, individual lots around town.
Yep.
Right. That's really in the short term what I'd love to do.
Mm-hmm.
That'll help Topeka. That'll help us. That'll help the communities that they're in. But we're going to get to that point. There's a group out of Colorado. They're using a different printer than we're using, but they're doing similar stuff. And they won't generally take an order that's less than 100 houses.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, just because they'd rather go do those big developments.
Right. Sure. Yeah. I mean, then your cost would probably go way down.
Yeah. If we can do a larger development, our cost per square foot goes down pretty substantially.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Just because it's we print under a big tent. It's a couple days to set up the tent, set up the printer, then you got to take it down, right? And if you're in a development, you can just get a crane and you just lift it from site to site.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. One of the things that's fascinating to me about this conversation is kind of the bigger picture about a lot of people sit in this chair are very entrepreneurial people, and you seem to be a very entrepreneurial person yourself. You see an opportunity, seize the opportunity, and not that it's only a financial decision, but it seems to be, a very lucrative opportunity. And I'm fascinated by, I say this almost every week now. I don't feel like I have a brain that works quite like that. Like seeing like if someone gave me $100 and said, hey, make $5,000, like, I don't know, like hope Apple can give me a return on this, but there are people who sit in this chair and they're like, oh man, like we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And it's just fascinating to me. And you seem to have a brain that seems to work like that as well. We're just seeing opportunities. And I'm not saying it's all financial. I don't mean to kind of frame it in that way, but what is it about just the way kind of your brain works that where you're seeing like, man, this is an obvious opportunity to serve the community, meet a need, make money, build a business, that where other people are struggling to like, I don't know what to do, but you're here like, dude, look at all this opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For me, it's just having a curious mindset, right? So I think I come by it naturally. Right. I've been in consulting and stuff for a long time. My job is to understand problems and not just like the surface level problem. I'm supposed to, you see the tied up Christmas lights, I'm the type of guy who will spend a while pulling on that yarn to sort of figure out what's really going on.
Interesting.
And it's just a curiosity thing. You know, I'm not a builder by trade. I mean, there's no calluses on my hands, right? That's just not what I've ever really done. I've been adjacent to it for a long time. I have a ton of friends who do it. My stepdad builds beautiful houses, but that just wasn't, I'm a business guy.
Yep.
But then I started looking at the economics of what we're facing, right? We could have come out and tried to sell these for the same cost per square foot as a stick build.
Right.
And we probably could have sold them at the same price.
Interesting.
But there's a reason, multiple reasons why we don't want to do that. Some of them are societal, right? Yep. Myself, I know you guys have talked to a bunch of folks in town who have this altruistic streak in them.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, listen, better housing in our community helps everybody here.
Wow.
Full stop. Housing insecurity is a huge problem.
Yep.
If we can start to address some of that, it makes a lot of stuff better. People will spend more money at small businesses because they are able to afford more of a house. People will stay in jobs longer because they aren't worried about, hey, my landlord just sold their, I don't know who I'm getting now, that kind of stuff. And so that type of security, if you guys remember back to college, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Shelter is at the very base of what people seek to find. And so if we can provide that in a meaningful way, right? And in the first year, 25 to 50 houses, it's 25 to 50 houses. Sure. But there were only 70 new single-family permits pulled last year, and almost all of those sold above $300,000.
Wow, that's interesting.
So the idea is, can we add 25 to 50, 100% of what we're currently doing to increase that supply? And if we can, it's going to make a difference over time.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's super cool.
That's interesting. So it's really interesting what you're saying, because I think a lot of people, you know, that I think about maybe young people trying to kind of make their way in the world and kind of, you know, be successful in life. And a lot of times the focus is on, hey, how can I do well? How can I make money? How can I become successful? And obviously you do need to make money. You need to find a way to provide for yourself. But what you're saying is, hey, instead of thinking, how can I make as much money as possible, just find a problem and think about that problem until you get a sense of what's really going on and some good ideas around how to solve that. And then just see what happens is kind of some of what you're saying.
Well, in a lot of ways, yeah. I mean, you know, whether it's, we've made tons of mistakes in this process, right? Tons. And we're going to continue to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Right? We don't have to get it perfect. We just have to be trying. Right? And yes, have to make money, have to pay for the company, have to pay money. Like all that is a yes. But there's no reason we have to do it at the detriment of the people in our community.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be predatory.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think a lot of businesses really are, right? But we also understand that this is new technology. So if we're going to sell it at the same price as stick-built houses, then all we're going to do all day is fight, well, which one's better?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. They're both good.
Yeah.
Depending on what you want.
Right.
You want flat 90-degree corners? Go with stick-built. Right? You don't mind the curves? We can do some cool stuff with that, right? It's one of those things where we understood very quickly that to help people understand and adopt this model, because everywhere else in the world but North America uses concrete to build.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, Caribbean, South America, Central America, Europe, Africa, Asia, they use concrete like crazy. Anywhere where there's a hurricane, a monsoon, where it's really wet, they're using cinder block, they're using concrete, right? Because it doesn't mold, it doesn't rot, it doesn't...
Right.
We don't. But if you go back, right, you go show a client a house that's an old, you know, farmhouse that was built 150 years ago that was made of sandstone. They're like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's not that much different.
Right.
Right. So it's one of those things where I think we've been kind of spoiled with the abundance of what we have. Right. And we didn't want to come out with the same price because we want people to be encouraged to look at adopting it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And so the real benefit here is that a stick-built builder isn't going to want to build a $150,000 home.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to.
Yeah.
Right? We'd love to do it on an infill lot. They would hate to do it on an infill lot.
Right.
We're just going to start addressing different needs.
Yeah, it's great.
But we're both necessary.
Wow.
Because if you look at the problem on a scale, not a single one of us can actually fix it.
Sure.
The housing shortage in Kansas is about $13 to $15 billion of housing short. And we have one of the smallest populations of states, like people in a state in the country.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy amount.
That is wild.
Yeah.
I want to applaud you for your, I don't think entrepreneurs get enough credit for this, but your discipline. I mean, this is a long project.
Yeah.
And you've invested time, money, and resources, 5 years ago that, what you said you might not even see for years to come if we're building 25, 50 homes a year at a time. I mean, this is this will be decades of paying off. And so that is super cool. And I want to thank you for, you taking a risk.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And you jumping out. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things you could be doing with your time, and, addressing a problem like this, a passion project to some extent.
To some degree.
Is super cool.
Yeah,
And
I appreciate that.
There's not a lot of people that would do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Honestly, like I said, we've fallen into it sort of, I say by accident, but we just kept pulling on that string and seeing what was next. And I've had tons of help and great people helping along the way. And I'm sure that's going to continue, right? It's definitely not just me. The folks doing the printing and the folks helping move the needle on grants and FHL Bank and the cities of Topeka, Independence, like Parsons, all these places. Like it's not monolithic. I wouldn't have gotten here without their support too. Yeah. Because it has been a long time. And there have been days where I'm like, I am so tired of trying to figure it out, but it's worth continuing. Yep. It's worth trying to figure out, because not only will it eventually make money and be a good business, but it's going to address some needs that we have.
That's cool.
I always, and maybe we end on this, I've always heard the line that pressure is a privilege. When you go to bed and you feel pressure, you're stressed out, you should know that you're, that's a privilege. If you weren't stressed and you weren't up at night thinking about how this is going to work, it's like you're probably not doing something meaningful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's a great thought.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're going to hit them with some rapid fires?
Yeah, man. So we like to hit everybody with the same kind of rapid fires, mainly just about life in Topeka generally. So not specifically to do with the business. So do you have a favorite local restaurant?
Up until I turned 40, it was definitely Wheelbarrow. A little lactose intolerant now, so that's disappointing. But we love going there, so that's probably tops on my list.
Shout out to Wheelbarrow. They have, not only do they have great grilled cheeses and sandwiches, their chips and queso. Yeah. Unbelievable. They have like
their chips and queso is good. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. My kids love the pretzel and the cream cheese and stuff. So
okay.
But lots of dairy. So it's been a struggle for me lately.
Yeah. Oh, dang. Sorry to hear that, man.
Did you any potholes on the way over here?
No, but I didn't drive down 17th Street.
There it is.
Smart.
This guy's been around the block.
Yeah.
Smart. Do you have a go-to date night?
Topeka Civic Theater.
Cool. Oh, okay.
So my wife and I for years have been season ticket holders.
Really?
Yeah, we're really busy. And so because we're able to book a year in advance, we can pick all our shows and the dates.
Cool.
It's set on the calendar.
That's cool.
It's been great. We've loved it. We love the community.
That's awesome.
Our kids go to theater camp now. We do a lot with like Shades of Theater here in Topeka and some other folks at the Beacon and places. I'm on the Civic Theater board now.
Okay.
Really?
Just because we've spent time, but that's definitely my go-to.
Wow.
Yeah.
My kids have done some of the little kids plays in the last couple of years and have loved it.
Yeah. It's a great environment. And again, just because we're busy, it helps us set a schedule and,
that's great.
Gives us opportunity.
How many kids do you have?
3.
Cool.
Nice. Yeah. You're doing a construction project. Speaking of,
exactly.
Construction project. Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's?
Oh, I'm a Home Depot guy.
Let's go.
Yeah,
the home builder is a Home Depot guy.
I'm a Home Depot
My
guy.
man, let's go. Yeah, I feel so vindicated right now.
I was afraid he was going to say that. We've been asking guests that question from the beginning, and what we have found out, John does home projects. He loves Home Depot. I hire home projects. I like Menards. People who do their home projects go to Home Depot. People who hire them go to Menards.
I will be honest. If I lived closer to Menards,
oh, come on.
Yeah.
I would probably go there more.
Is it because they have cereal?
No, it's not. That actually freaks me out a little. No,
right?
Those are my two. I'm not a Lowe's guy.
Cool.
Not a Lowe's guy.
Cool.
Yeah, which is actually really funny because I have to shout them out. They're really involved in the 3D home building projects with us.
Yeah,
so they're helping us with the buckets that we need for the concrete and stuff.
Okay, come on.
And I really do think it's location. We live just off Huntoon. It's so easy to get down the street.
Yeah. No,
So I literally have a bag. I stopped there right before the show to pick some stuff up. So.
Mine's not location. It's because they have cereal and they have other snacks.
Oh,
snacks are good.
That's awesome.
What else we got?
Man, are you a coffee guy?
Yes.
Do you have a favorite coffee place?
Circle.
Okay, come on.
Just because right there. It's really close.
Yeah.
You're
giving us clues on where this might be.
Yeah. So Circle. We really like Coffee Head.
Yeah.
Both
great.
really good. So
we used to live right by there and would go there all the time.
We buy Blue Jazz, so we try to buy local. We do some stuff with Joy Lights.
Yeah. We had Jack on. Gosh, can you believe it? Probably a year and a half now.
He was one of our first guys.
Yeah. You a golfer?
If I can.
Okay, Cypress. Lake? Where do you like to golf?
Used to be Country Club.
Yep.
It's been probably 2 years since I really got out swung the sticks.
busy.
I got young kids.
Yeah.
That's the deal. But when I was traveling more, I'd golf and do golf events and stuff, but haven't recently.
Cool.
Wow.
Final question, I guess. Where could people, if they want to follow Trident Homes, want to follow you, Beacon, where can they find you at?
Yeah, so Trident Homes is just Trident Homes on Facebook. It'll say Topeka. I think there's an Instagram too. I don't manage that account. 3dhomebuilder.com is the website. It's got our floor plans. It's got ways to get in touch with us, all that stuff.
It's a solid website.
I would say that's a solid domain, man.
We locked that down pretty early.
Do you have to fight somebody for that domain?
Nope.
Dang,
nope.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we got that pretty early. And there's a lot of people doing this same stuff. We got that. So
Wow.
And then, the Beacon here in Topeka, it's helpful that QXO or whatever changed their name from Beacon Building Supplies because that was a little confusing for a while. But really those two things, right? Beacon Topeka or 3dhomebuilder.com.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it a lot, but shout out to the Beacon. I've been there several times for events. Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. We have a project coming up on our third floor. There's a balcony. We're redoing the roof, and then that'll end up actually being rentable and be a rooftop.
Come on,
so
dude, that's awesome.
That should be done sometime in the next month or so.
Wow.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for being here. This has been awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Man.